How to start an Uber Black fleet in 2025 going into 2026. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Trey Jackson, Mr. TJackk. I started an Uber Black fleet a couple months ago. Fast forward now, I've been vlogging my journey and been as transparent and honest with y'all about this business as possible. I showed the ups, I showed the downs, but most importantly, I learned and I'm able to share, like I said, my experiences with y'all. Now, I'm a firm believer of it's enough for everybody. I'm not a gatekeeper. So if you're watching this video and you want to start an Uber Black fleet, I wish you the best. I'm going to tell you now, you do need a lot of capital to get started. But with that being said, let's dive right into the video. Now, when it comes to starting a Uber Black fleet, y'all, it's super duper important that before you do anything, I'm talking about before you buy a vehicle, before you look at the licensing and permits, before you look at how much money you can make, you need to make sure Uber Black is in your market. Uber Black is not in every market. Uber Black is only in markets where it's high demand. Every market not gonna have it. So if you're watching this video, you from Utah, it may not be in your market. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure Uber Black is in your market. And the best way to do that, you can do that through ChatGPT or you can use Google. Once you identify if Uber Black is in your market, the next steps would be the licensing and permits. Now, like I said, each market is different. Like, for example, here in Houston, it's in demand. So the city of Houston, like, okay, we know drivers making money. We want our cut. So in order for us to go drive people around to do Uber Black, build our own private clientele, we need to have a limousine license and the limousine licensing and permits. And we only get that through the permitting center here in Houston. Like I said, it's not the same for every market. It's only if it's in crazy demand that they require you to have a limousine license. It's kind of like, your city, like, okay, is they making money from it or not? If so, we want to cut. If they like, okay, we don't really see it being like high demand, they most likely probably not going to require you to have a limousine license. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. That's just what it is. But if it is in demand in your city, it is what it is. You got to get the licensing and permit. So that's the next step. First step, I'll backtrack. Make sure Uber Black is in your market. Next step is, or step number 2 is seeing the licensing and permits you need, if any. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, y'all, I'm in the Houston market. So I'll just type in Houston limousine. There it is. I'll just type in Houston limousine. Or you know what? Houston limousine license and permits. How about that? And then boom, this pops up. And then the first thing I see right here, I'll scroll down so y'all can see it, is the requirements. This is what you need. Let me move my screen a little bit. This is what you need in order to get a limousine license. So you need to do a criminal history background check process and Texas fingerprint, which that's what I had to do to get my limousine license. Like I said, this is the list of requirements. And then next, you got to do the vehicle data submission form. I did that too. You have to show how many vehicles, what type of vehicles, the year, the model, all of that good stuff. And then also, they got to check to see if the vehicle you own is registered with Uber Black. Like whenever I first started, we did our due diligence, we did our research, and then I started with a Range Rover. The lady, I vividly remember her saying, a Range Rover, I don't think that qualify. We was like, no, it qualifies. Trust us. We did our research. And then we end up getting a limousine license along with the permit sticker. So always make sure before you buy a vehicle that it qualifies for Uber Black. I just don't see no point to go buy a luxury SUV if you're not planning on utilizing Uber and Lyft as a tool, elite system. So these are the only requirements right here. And like, for example, depending on what market you in, they should have a place where you can call or go up to. I'm more of an in-person person because over the phone, you always have like bad experiences. People be rude. They talk to hundreds of people per day, so their patience is super low. So what I did whenever I first got my limousine license or whenever I first got started with the process, I went up there myself. So I went right here to this place called the Houston Permitting Center. Right here. I don't know if y'all can see my arrow. Now, a lot of people... I'll just say this. If you're watching this video and you in Houston, I'm basically showing you how to do it. So what I recommend if you are in Houston, go to this place right here. Just go up there, tell them you want to get the limousine license. And then this yellow box right here is what you'll need. Ignore the taxi, cab, electric, hybrid vehicle list. If you don't have an electric vehicle, ignore that. That's And that's pretty much it, y'all. The process typically take less than 1 week to complete, maybe a week and a half. It just depends on where you at. It took me less than 1 week to get my limousine license along with the permits and stickers. It was quick, it was fast, and then I was able to go out and start making money. Now, once you complete these 2 steps, as far as identifying if it's in demand in your market and then identifying what type of licensing and permits you need, next step would be looking at vehicles. Once you figure out the licensing and permits you need for your market, if you need any, now it's time you move to the next step, which to me is the most important one because it determines how much money you make. Now I'm gonna share my experience because I don't want y'all to make the same mistake I made, because whenever I first got started in this business, I bought a medium-sized SUV, which is not good for this business. I'm gonna be honest. Now, I turned my mistake into a win because I started building a private clientele. For those of you that's watching, you do not have to build a private clientele if you don't want to. You can still win in this business just relying on the rideshare platforms. But it's a split divide between the SUVs. So if you're watching this video right now and you wanna come into the rideshare business, but you don't wanna build a private clientele, I recommend you go with a large size SUV. That's a short back. A short back, large size SUV would be something like an Infiniti QX80, Ford Expedition XLT, Chevy Tahoe, GMC Yukon, something like that. And that's only if you don't want to rely on building a private clientele. But if you want to come into this business and you actually want to build a private clientele, what I recommend you do is go with a large size SUV that's a long back, which is like a Chevy Suburban, GMC Yukon XL, Lincoln Navigator, Ford Expedition Max. There's so many out there and you can find them. The reason I recommend you go with that is because you got trunk space. So when you start building a private clientele and they got groups or families, you can fit all of them in your car comfortably along with their bags and suitcases. That's super duper important. You can still build a private clientele with a short back SUV, but you're gonna run into an issue, which is the trunk space. Once you get a big group, you out of luck because the short back SUV really don't got that much trunk space. Now for this business, I'll show y'all the Range Rover real fast. This is why you want to stay away from a medium-sized SUV. Like, yes, it's cool, it got the trunk space, but once you come over here, this is your downfall. They classify this as a 5-seater, but to me, it's really a 4-seater because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Driver don't count for me. And who really sat in the middle like that? Especially when you got like a lot of adults. So really, to me, this is a 3-seater SUV. This is your downfall. Like, yes, the car looks good, but when it comes to getting big groups, big families, and they got bags and suitcases, this is not a good SUV. Now, you can still make it work. You just got to target a different type of people, like single people or couples only. Don't try to go out here and target families whenever you're trying to build a private clientele or people you know that got large groups. You can still build a private clientele with a medium-sized SUV, but it's just going to be harder. I'm telling you now, it's just going to be harder, but you can do it. You just got to do it a certain way. Now, when it comes to sedans in this business, I don't know, y'all. I don't have nothing bad to say about sedans, but I just don't recommend them personally because anytime you deal with picking up people, they always going to bring friends, their family, co-workers. That's just from my experience. So if you got a sedan, a car, how the hell you gonna fit 4 or 5 people in there? You know what I mean? I mean, if you just got one private client that you deal with, let's say he's a millionaire or billionaire, and it's just mainly him by himself, or let's say he got a girlfriend or wife, that make more sense because you can fit him by himself with his bags, and that's kind of comfortably. So really, you can make anything work in this business as long as you just target the right people. I'm just kidding. That's the best way I can put it. You can make anything work, but just make sure you target the right kind of people. Now, I'm not here saying buying a sedan, medium-sized SUV is bad. I'm just telling y'all what works best from my experience, which no matter what, if you buy a large-size SUV, you always gonna win because you can get single people, you know, groups, families, whatever, and you can fit all of them in your SUV along with their bags and suitcases. Now, the reason I'm telling y'all to get a large size SUV, because if you come in to rely on the rideshare platforms like Uber and Lyft, you got more options. With this car right here, this is a medium size SUV. That means you're only gonna be able to do comfort and black, only 2 options. I'm gonna keep it real. Who gonna do Uber X in a Range Rover? you taking $4 trips to go 10 miles in a Range Rover. That's insane. So really, when it comes to a medium-sized SUV or a sedan, you only got comfort and black. That's it. And majority of the time, black is not always busy. So you mainly taking comfort rides. And I would hate for y'all to go buy a $60,000 car or medium-sized SUV, and you over here doing comfort rides. Like, them people don't deserve that. Give them that, I'm gonna be honest, give them good treatment, but they don't deserve it. Cause it's like you paid all that money and then you driving them for $8 to go 15 miles. That sucks. So just pick your battles wisely here. Now, when it comes to you buying a large size SUV, like I said, it opened up more options. You're able to do black SUV, double XL, XL, comfort, and X. You got like 6 more options. Now, here's the difference between a large size SUV that's a short back versus a large size SUV that's a long back. The only difference between the two, and I'll give y'all a better example, it's a Chevy Tahoe versus a Chevy Suburban. The only difference on the apps between those two SUVs is the Chevy Suburban allow double XL and the Chevy Tahoe don't. The only thing the Chevy Tahoe allow is XL. So Chevy Suburban do double XL and XL, and then Chevy Tahoe just got XL. And that's the trunk space. So if you're watching this video and you got a short back SUV that's long or a large size SUV, that's the reason why you don't get double XL. Just to give y'all one more example on it, I got an Infiniti QX80. That thing only do XL. It don't do double XL. So that's, whenever I first started, I'm like, how they doing double XL, but I don't got it. And then I start learning more about this business, and that's the only difference. So if you're watching this video, like I said, and you wanna make it a business, get a double XL SUV, which is a Chevy Suburban. If you're not trying to make it a business, go with a short back, because you'll still get your money's worth with that large size SUV that's a short back, because you have more options to do on the rideshare platforms. Now, as an Uber Black fleet owner, it's super duper important that you understand this business. That's why I added that video in to show y'all what your drivers may be looking for. As an Uber Black fleet owner, you need to understand what your future drivers or your future renters may be looking for. What's going to make them want to come rent from you versus all your other competitors. If you got a fleet of medium-sized SUVs versus a fleet of large-sized SUVs, if I'm a renter, I'm going to go with the large-sized SUVs because I'm trying to make as much money as possible on the rideshare platforms and build a private clientele. It wouldn't make sense for me to go rent a medium-sized SUV and my earning potential is limited. So it's super duper important that you understand this as an Uber Black fleet owner. I really recommend that you start off as a driver and then move to fleet ownership. That's what I did. You don't have to, but I do recommend it. That way you're able to understand the business and deal with renters accordingly. Like, people can't get over on me because I understood this business or I understand this business. Like, you can't tell me ABC 1, 2, 3. I actually was a driver. So you don't have to, like I said, but I do recommend it. You do need an Uber Black account in order to be a part of the fleet. Now, I'm only with Uber. I'm not with Lyft. Lyft got too many rules and stuff, and it takes forever. Uber is short, simple, quick, and you make more profits off of it. And, they give you room to do whatever you want. So I recommend it. Now, going back to the SUVs, as a fleet owner, your job is to just provide the SUV. That's it. So what I recommend as starting out as an Uber Black fleet owner is to go with large SUVs that are short backs, not large size SUVs that are long backs, because they way more expensive. You want to cut the expenses or, be on like a budget. You don't want to spend too much money getting started. So your budget should be $40,000 and below. Like I said, and you could find some large size long back SUVs within that price range. They may have high mileage, which is fine. As long as the previous owner took care of them, that's all that matter. Now, I'm pretty sure y'all familiar with car gurus. That's kind of like where I started looking at whenever I first started, buying cars. I didn't come into this business to be a fleet owner at first. I got into this business literally by accident. But like right now, I got Chevrolet Tahoe. Boom. Now, remember, y'all, on Uber and Lyft, your interior has to be black, and also your exterior has to be black as well. Black on black, basically. So also, vehicle cannot be older than 5 years. So that's what I love about Car Gurus. It actually lets you set the year as well. So remember, y'all, we don't want that. So it's 2025 going into 2026. So if I want to be on the safe side to continue to make good money and not have to change my SUV out, I'm going to go with 2022 and up. And then I'm going to set my budget. Let's see. Let's do price. I'm going to set my budget to 40K. I'll do 45. 45. Let's see. And boom, Chevrolet Tahoe, 41,000. That's good. I mean, after TTL, it might be like 43, 44. But this is a nice SUV right here, y'all. Your renters will be able to do black SUV, XL, Comfort, and also X. So they got more options. Now, like I said, this is a short back SUV. So this SUV is not going to have trunk space. As you can see, it's super short in the back. But that's not your job, like I said, as a renter. And this vehicle is really perfect, y'all. This is a 2023, and it only got 74,000 miles. All right, we'll round it off to 75,000 miles. That's perfect. That's a good SUV to buy as a fleet owner for your renters to drive. Literally perfect. Now, after you identify what type of SUVs you actually want, there's plenty of them out there. What I recommend y'all do is go to Uber Black website and make sure the vehicle you want to buy actually qualifies. So you'll just go to Uber Black Drive, and then you'll go to a list of vehicles. And I'm going to use this as an example. So I had a guy hit me up on TikTok. He said, hey, man, because me as a fleet owner, I'm fully booked. I'm overbooked, actually. So I actually offer an affiliate program that if you want to be a fleet owner, I got people that would want to rent from you. So this guy hit me up. He said he got a GLE 53. So what I'm going to do now, y'all, I'm going to go to Mercedes. I'm going to see if his GLE qualifies for black. If it don't qualify for black, I can't do nothing with him. I can't help him out. So he got a GLE 53. Oh, yeah. It qualifies for black right here. Now, he don't get black SUV, but it does qualify for black. And that's a medium-sized SUV. So I can help him out. But as far as pricing, we'll have to work with him on pricing. As far as like setting a fair price for him being a fleet owner, and also trying to find him a renter, because nobody gonna want to rent that vehicle for X amount, and it's a medium-sized SUV, because their earning potential is going to be capped. And then after that, y'all, the next steps would be looking for commercial auto insurance as a fleet owner. Commercial auto insurance is super duper expensive. Like I said, y'all, you will need quite a bit of capital to get started. I don't want that to deter y'all, because it is loopholes or ways around it. You can, instead of going with a corporate company, I started off with Progressive. I'm still with Progressive, but I started off with them. That was kind of expensive. It wasn't cheap, but sometimes they do deals. Like I said, there's loopholes around it. You can go around it. You can go to your local insurance agent companies or agencies and see if they offer black car commercial auto insurance. Like I said, I'm with Progressive. So I don't recommend that if you biting on capital, or you like, I'm on a budget, I don't recommend you go with Progressive. So what I'll do, let me see, commercial auto insurance. Boom. And then it'll be like a bunch of list, or a list of different ones. Like, I think Geico is now offering commercial auto insurance for black car. They wasn't whenever I first started. Byberg is a good one. They could be expensive too. Sometimes Allstate and State Farm offer it too. Like I said, you just want to go with your local ones if you kind of like on a budget. Now, Progressive been good to me, so I don't have nothing bad to say about Progressive. But y'all see, I just typed in local commercial auto insurance, and look at this list. It's a bunch of different places that you can potentially call. Now, y'all, of course, remember, keep in mind, if you're in Houston, you good. This is in Houston, but if you're in a different market, don't be looking for these companies. Of course, like, look at local insurance companies for your market. So if you live in Las Vegas or Chicago, look for local commercial auto insurance companies in your market. There's plenty of them, y'all. They everywhere. There's so many insurance companies out here, but that would be literally the next step. So once you identify what kind of vehicle you want, double check, make sure make sure it's eligible for Uber Black, and then you'll start looking for commercial auto insurance. Now, before I end this video, I want to teach y'all a little hack. I don't know if it's like a hack, whatever. It's not like a secret or nothing, but let's say I wanted to add this vehicle to my fleet right now. Let's say I want to add this 2023 Chevy Tahoe to my fleet. Before I actually buy this vehicle, I will want to get a quote to see how much I would be paying for commercial auto insurance. That's what I did with all my vehicles. Every single one I own, I got a quote. So I call, or I'll use myself as an example again. I called Progressive Commercial Auto Insurance. I say, hey, looking to get a quote, looking to purchase a vehicle. They say, hey, what's the VIN number? And then boom, y'all, the VIN number is right here. I give them the VIN number, and then they ask for some more additional information, and then they'll give me a quote in a couple minutes. Sometimes it may take an hour or two. It just depends on their workload. Sometimes it's right away. So each time is different, but you can literally do that before you actually buy the vehicle. That way you know how much you're looking at paying before you actually purchase the vehicle. So that's why I called it like a little secret or hack, because once you buy the vehicle, you stuck with it. You can't go back. So it's kind of smart to do that, because you can switch different SUVs. Some SUVs may be a little cheaper than the SUV you're looking at. So right now I'm looking at this Tahoe. If I called, let's say I wanted to get an Infiniti instead because of the commercial auto insurance price. If I switch it and I give them the VIN of the Infiniti, it could possibly be cheaper due to it being an Infiniti. And also like your driving background, your record play a role too. If you got a lot of accidents, speeding tickets, of course your commercial auto insurance is going to be high. Now, the last final step, y'all, before you get the, granted access of becoming an Uber Black fleet owner is creating your account. Now, like I said, I do recommend you start off as a driver at first. Even if you don't want to be a driver, you still have to have a driver account to be listed with Uber Fleet or Uber Black Fleet, whatever you want to call it. So let's say Uber Black Fleet, boom. Where we at? Or I'll just type in Uber Fleet. Let me backtrack it. Uber Fleet. I'll come over here. Here it is right here. So you go to Fleet Management Tools, and then you'll click Sign Up Today. Now, of course, y'all already got an account with Uber Fleet. But once you sign up and they ask for all your information, all they want, and this just depends on your market, all they want is your limousine license. They want your profile picture. They want your background check. They want your limousine description document, and also your commercial auto insurance form. That's all they want. It's like 5 things that they want. Of course, it may take a couple of days to process this. It ain't like they're going to approve it instantly, but once they approve it, this is what your account should look like. Whatever vehicles you have listed or whatever vehicles you want to list, it'll have all of them popped up right here. So I currently have 3 at the moment. And as y'all can see, I got 4 new interested drivers, 2 and 4. So 10 total, basically 10 interested drivers total. And like I said, I like Uber Fleet because they give you free leads, and it's up to you to, call all of these people. Now, I'm not going to actually click the listing because as soon as you click it, it show everybody information, and I don't want to expose their information. So yeah, this is pretty much how it works, y'all. It's like I said, it's pretty cool. And as a Uber fleet owner, you get to foresee everything, or you get to oversee everything when it comes to your drivers, your vehicles, how many mileage they putting in, or how many mileage they putting on your vehicles, the performance, how much money they making, how many hours they online. You get to see literally all of that, which is why I actually recommend, partnering with Uber under fleet. Because to me, it just don't make sense to try to do it without Uber. You can do it, but it just don't make sense without Uber. But yeah, y'all, this is pretty much it. These are the steps to actually become an Uber Black fleet owner. It's not hard. Like I said, you do need quite a bit of capital to get started. But once you get the ball rolling, you good. And from there, I think your only challenge would be finding good drivers, having a good set price between you as the fleet owner and them being a renter or driver. And then that's pretty much it. And if you want to continue to build from 1 vehicle to 2, and then 2 to 3, then 3 to 4, then 4 to 5, you can do that. It's just whatever you want as the fleet owner. But that'll be it, y'all. I hope this video helped y'all out a lot. If y'all have any questions, let me know down in the comment section. Also, I do offer mentorships. I just don't really push it as heavy because I'm very selective on who I work with. I'm not for money. I'm more for actually providing quality, actually helping you out. So I will link my mentorships in the description. If y'all want to get access to them, all y'all will have to do is click the link in my description. Like I said, I have everything in there. But with that being said, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for showing love to my channel. Every like, share, comment, everything y'all do is greatly appreciated. With that being said, I'll catch y'all next video.